I'm not playing the thing.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Fancy.
And I'm Brande.
And Brande, we can't hear you. There it
Can't
goes.
hear me?
And this is Murder by Design. Don't even tell me that it's going to start doing this.
It better not be another one.
It's doing that laggy thing again. It's doing that laggy thing again.
No.
Okay, wait. Can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm saying right this second?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I think it's good now.
Okay.
Yes. Weird.
Stella,
very
are we
weird.
good on your
I don't know why
end?
it keeps doing this.
Stella's in chat. Let's see if we're doing good on her end.
Oh
Yo,
my
I've
God,
got
I
something
hate
on
this.
my glasses.
Why does it keep doing? Well, hi
She says
guys.
we're good on her end.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So welcome tonight is, we're back on our Friday Night Live. We don't have any interviews to do tonight. It's just me and Brande, but we've got a lot of information to share with you tonight. We're going to be talking about several of the dangerous cults. We're going to fixate a lot tonight on Nexium. But I have my own personal story about being in a cult that I'm going to share with you guys. And Brande has some things that I know she wants to talk about. So that's kind of what we're going for tonight, guys. And this is going to be a casual night. I wanted, this was something that came up in my news feed yesterday, and I started thinking about it, and I've watched the different documentaries on it lately. And I've watched every episode of Leah Remini's Scientology one. And so I kind of am really, I'm a lot not impressed. It's not the word impressed. I'm very fascinated by cults because I just don't understand how they work.
They're very intriguing.
Yes, they are. And it's very crazy to me because I would never have thought that I would be a person who would end up in something like that. It just wasn't, it's not in my makeup. I'm not a person who can go and not ask questions. I'm not a person who just goes blind faith in and out, so I'm really surprised that I ended up in one, and it was very crazy to even realize that that's where I was at. Because you would think you hear all these stories and you think, it's just so, why would anybody do that? How could anybody hear that and not run the other direction? But I can tell you, it's very subtle. It starts off very helpful and you feel like you're doing really well, and they surround you with people and they brainwash you. And it's very subtle. It's not a brainwash where, you're looking at this little screen and it's got that little, circling thing and you're getting sleepy. It's not like that.
Debbie. Sorry, the puppy won't shut up.
It's all right. But yeah, so it's a very subtle process. And if you hear anybody who's in a cult, they'll tell you that. If they don't hit you out the gate, it's a year in, it's 2 years in, usually. I got in and got out very fast into the one that I was involved with, because my brain just wouldn't take what they were trying to put out there.
Well, and like with the Nexium Cult, those were highly intelligent people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't expect, there were several doctors charged in that case. You wouldn't expect these people to fall in for this.
Well, you wouldn't expect it in the one that I was in either, but there was doctors, there were surgeons, there were high level celebrities, high level lawyers, contractors, every type of person in there. But they prey on what is specific to you, and they surround you with the people that are going to be the people that you're going to listen to, and they do it quickly but subtly, and I don't know. What I can tell you is once they have their claws in, it's very hard to retract them. Yeah. So, so we've heard about, rumblings about Nexium, I don't know if it's a church, if it's a cult, if it's a MLM, I think it's all of those things, maybe. But we've heard rumblings about them for quite a bit of time. They've been around, I think there was articles talking about them for almost 10 years and how, hard they were to deal with, what they were like.
That came out against them, they sued them. there was the $110 million suit where they went after him and was like, there's no merit to what he's saying. And I mean, they really went after him. And then the guy that owns the Seagram's liquor, whatever that is, foundation, family, whatever it is, when he spoke out, that's when everybody was like, surely they're going to do something now. Surely somebody's going to come in. And then nothing happened. And they were like, what the hell? Because when people spoke up, nothing happened.
Well, it's the same thing that happens with Scientology. They harass you, they stalk you, they try to ruin your life, your business, everything. And they're so moneyed, these cults, all the time. They're so moneyed because they basically, they latch themselves on to very prominent people in different industries. And those people, a lot of times those people are very in the know about what's going on, but even some of them don't understand what damage they're doing. But in this case, I don't feel that that's the case. Like, I believe that the people like Lauren Salzman, Nancy Salzman, Allison Mack, I believe that they all knew exactly what they were doing. So a little bit about the Nexium Cult. So it was founded in 1998 by Keith Reneir and Nancy Salzman, and it was based out of a suburban neighborhood in Albany, New York. And the company claimed to offer personal and professional development seminars through a series of executive success programs. This is very similar to what Scientology does. They offer classes. You take these classes and then you somehow get roped into this cult-like religion that they're calling a religion, which I use that term very lightly in these cases.
One of their classes, I don't remember I think it was EMS or something like that, was identical to one of the Scientology classes.
Yes. This is very reminiscent of the Scientology. I mean, very reminiscent. It has other elements. It has a Jonestown element. It has some Jehovah Witness elements to it. I mean, there is a lot of different things, but it kind of like takes from all different little pieces of things and puts it all together, which kind of makes it no other one has ever been looked at as like being an MLM. That's not. Even though the classes are, that's never been something that's really been put out there. But tonight, these ones, this has,
they were very worried that this was going to be a Jonestown. When they were going in, they were terrified that that's what was going to happen.
Well, they were very terrified that there was going to be a mass suicide. Yes. So, they were supposed to be a self-help and self-improvement. And the founder, Reneir, claimed that the programs... Okay. The program's emphasis was to have people experience more joy in their lives. But when actress Sarah Edmondson, which is another one that was in the top level, gave the New York Times an interview about her personal experience in the organization, it was anything but joyful. Edmondson alleged that almost 10 years earlier, she was recruited to a secret sorority within the Nexium organization by a woman named Lauren Salzman. And that secret group was called DOS. And Edmondson claimed that to get in, she had to give DOS collateral in the form of information that would be damaging to her reputation. That's crazy to me. But it's similar to what I experienced. So when in the cult that I was in, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to tell you there's two pieces to this. There is the non-cult, which is the regular churches of Christ. Nothing wrong there. Perfectly fine, normal, church. There is a church that broke off from the churches of Christ. Let me tell you, anytime a leader breaks off from a church and decides to create a new church because they don't like what's going on in the church, run!
Red flag.
Run. Because in the one that I was in is called the International Churches. So with an ES on the end of Christ. And they are a breakoff. Kip McKean broke off from the regular Church of Christ because he didn't like some things. And he started out this church, which was supposed to be really great and wonderful, ended up not being really great and wonderful. And so one of the things I can say that I've seen in Scientology, and I know I saw in the one that I was involved with, was that they all want you to do this like form of information that they can use on you. Now they don't all call it that, it was called, a list of our sins, so that we could, turn away from that bad life and tell God all about our sins and pray on it and walk away. So it's the same kind of concept, though. It was an idea of how can they use this against you, because they come back later in the cult that I was in, and call them discipleship studies. And basically they hammer out those things and they use them against you. Well, you used to blah, blah, blah. That is exactly what they're doing. They do the same thing in Scientology with their, what are those things that they have to hold the things? It's like a lie detector test, but the canisters, they hold them.
What was that called? I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
But it's definitely the same thing, where they sit on a thing and this thing monitors them as they're talking, and they have to be in there with an accountability person, and all these different things. It's the same kind of concept. So before we get any further, though, into this, Brande has some information on what a cult is. So why don't you go with that? On our Twitter account, I gave the definition of a cult. So if you go over to twitter.com /truecrimewives, that's kind of what I put up there tonight, was the definition of a cult. But Brande can go ahead and give you a little more information about it. So let's do that before we get any further into these.
Okay. If I hit mute, it's because the dog's going to bark, and because they just got here with the food that was supposed to have been here an hour ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So here's what I found, and I got this from the Tennessee State University. They had a thing on cults, and I found a lot of really good information there. And it says the American counterculture movement was all about peace, love, and happiness. The phrase flower power. Mm-hmm. And then we had the need for freedom and expression, which were fueled by civil rights movements and the Vietnam War. They were very ugly, even to soldiers through the Vietnam, when they came home from Vietnam. But by the 70s, we were overrun by violent faiths and deadly cults like Charles Manson and Jim Jones, just to name a few. And you might ask yourself, what exactly is a cult? Well, it's a group or a movement held together by a shared commitment to an charismatic leader and ideology. The belief system is that it has all of the answers to life's questions and offers special solutions that you can only obtain by following the leader's rules. There's 4 dimensions to a cult of groups: charismatic leader, transcendent belief system, system of controls, and system of influence.
So they prey on, they usually prey on people who are in some sort of transitional period in their lives. For me, I was leaving my mom, who, I've talked a little bit about my mom. My mom had juvenile diabetes. She was on lots of medication. It made my mom very volatile. So I was wanting out of my mom's house at any cost. I didn't care what cost that was, whether it be through a boyfriend, military. I'd tried so many different things. And I ended up in this cult in between trying to get out with a boyfriend and going into the military. So that's where I start, so there. And I was at community college because I was so burned out on school. Because I was one of the gifted program kids, and I was tired, and I just was done. I was really tired of it. So I just went to the community college. Especially I had scholarships other places and I didn't take them, but I went to the community college. I wanted to stay close to home, but I did want to get out of my mom's house. And so a friend from high school who I was not great friends with, I'd say an acquaintance from high school more than anything, someone I knew, she introduced me to the International Churches of Christ. And basically it was, hey, she saw me across the quad. She screamed out my name and I was like, hey, how are you? And so we stood and talked for a few minutes and she's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, why don't I come and pick you up and we'll go to this thing that we're having, it's a youth group. It's like a youth thing. And we'll go to it. It's for young, college students. We'll have a lot of fun. They talk a little bit about the Bible, but I mean, it's not a big deal. And then afterwards we all go out for pizza and ice cream and stuff. And you should totally come. Okay, that sounds great. Let's do that. And that turned into a very long week of me doing that every day. And basically them giving me little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit of the indoctrination of this church. And I was so desperate to get out of my mom's house, I wasn't listening. I wasn't, my feelers weren't going up. My little red flags were not set. And now that I look back, dude, there were so many red flags that I know I would have normally seen, but I didn't. So, I mean, that's the same way. They all are wanting to get this information from you. They're all wanting total control of your life. They all want, there's very specific things that these cults do. It's control of your life, control of your finances. They want your money. They want all the money they can get from you. And some of these, I didn't have a lot of money, but some of these churches, people are spending millions of dollars to take these classes. And it's just crazy. I even had at one point in time, I lost my job while I was in the cult, and I was staying with 6 other girlfriends that were all in the cult. And so that's where they moved me out to, was to be in with them. And I really feel like it was mostly to watch me, because they knew that I was always questioning things, but they, so I think they put me in that little group on purpose. But anyway, it was 6 other girls. We were in this tiny little apartment, sleeping on mattresses on the floor, like blow up mattress and everything. But at one point in time, I lost my job. And there was a lot of things that happened that I go, oh, wow, I should have seen it right that second. But it just took me a little while, but not too long. I mean, some people, it takes years and years. Some people never see it. But it took me, I'd say, within the better part of a 8-month period for me to kind of go in and go out. And I went back 2 times, in that period. But anyway, lost my job. And one of the things that we had to do was, we were big on tithing, so we had to give 10% to the church, blah, blah, blah. And that's normal. That's normal in every church. Anywhere you go, that's normal.
10%. Yep.
Right. Okay. But here's where they differed. When I lost my job, they told me that my discipler would be paying for my tithing for me. How nice of her, until I found another job. And I said, well, why would she have to pay anything? I don't understand. If I'm not making any money, there is no tithing. 10% of 0 is 0. Well, you made a promise to God. And I was like, wait a minute, I made a promise to God to tithe. I did not make a promise to God for $532 or whatever it was,
Right. I'm 10% of 0 is 0.
Is 0. And they're like, but you made a promise to God. I go, well, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question then. If I made a promise to God and let's just say I make $100 a week. Okay. I mean, that's obviously nothing, but let's just say I do. And so 10% of that is $10, right? Okay. So tomorrow I go into work and they go, hey, guess what, Fancy? You're going to get $200 a week now. So because I only made my promise to God at $10, does that mean I no longer have to give 10%? I only have to give the $10 that I promised? Or is it 10% of the 200? Well, it's 10% of the 200. I'm like, oh, okay. So when it's a sliding scale up, you're going to go ahead and honor that. But when it's a sliding scale down, you're telling me that I still have to pay $10 that I'm not making? No, you guys are crazy. I'm not doing that. And if she pays a penny of it, I am not paying that back. Well, you're being ungodly. I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. That was like the second or third thing that hit me. Another one was having to go out of town for business, and knowing that they weren't going to let me go because there was no way for them to get me plugged into a church as quickly as I was leaving. So, I was going to go away for a week and a half or 2 weeks. And so they didn't want that to happen. So I knew that I wasn't going to leave. And basically you feel that way the whole time you're in there. You feel like you're never going to get out. Even when you start to realize that things are going the way that you go, oh, wait, something's not right here. You see it and you just keep going because you don't know how to get yourself out. It's very hard. I had to call my grandparents. And even like going back just a little bit, my mom even came to my home with an expose that 2020 did on the International Churches of Christ. I sat there and I watched it with a girlfriend in the cult and my mom left afterwards. And as soon as my mom left, me and the girl in the cult were like, that was crazy. But because
you don't believe it's true.
I didn't believe it was true because the things that they had said had not happened to either one of us yet. And she'd been in for 4 years and I'd been in, so those things had not happened. So we were like, what are they even talking about? I don't even know. I don't know anybody that's had that happen to them. So it was like you said, I thought it was just lies. Oh, they're just lying. That's what happens. And they tell you the things like, oh, well, Jesus was persecuted. So for his beliefs, and you're going to be persecuted for yours. I mean, they have every answer in the freaking book for it. So the way I got out was, my mom told me that a person that explained to her that does like these extractions told her that it's little pieces of like popcorn that goes into your brain, and it goes in there and it may not register right away. And then it pops a little bit more and it pops a little bit more until your brain is being, finally the popcorn is big enough to overtake what they are trying to put in there. That's what happens. And so he's like, it's little kernels. You're just placing a little kernel in there. You're waiting for it to pop. You're just placing another little kernel in there. So several things happen. And I was
like little chips in a glass, just in the windshield, and then they splinter.
And they splinter. Yes, exactly. So my mom had done, she was trying to give me my space and do different things, but every once in a while she just planted another little seed and plant another little seed, So I just woke up one morning. I was supposed to go to my friend's wedding. I was actually singing at the wedding and was supposed to be, a member of her wedding party. And I basically got up that morning and pretended like I just wasn't feeling really great because I had just been overcoming something that had happened in that I had been in the hospital for. And this was the thing that basically broke this the straw on the camel's back was this hospital stay. And so I was telling them, I'm going to stop feeling really well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get dressed. And then one of the other members of the church is going to come by and get me. And he's going to bring me to the thing. And it's going to be him and 2 other girls. So it's not just me because we couldn't do that. We weren't allowed to travel or be with any of them. All the time. It was very crazy. But anyway, I was
That's
lying.
just too much. That's overwhelming.
It is. It was overwhelming. They told us who we could date, who we couldn't date. If you went on a date, you had to be chaperoned for so long.
Here's another thing. Here's another little tidbit for people. If any organization that you're a part of is telling you who to be friends with and who not to be friends with, run. That's another red flag. Nobody has the right to tell you not to speak to your family or to your friends. Right. Unless they're harming you, if they're toxic to you, then you do need to remove them from your life. But just because a pastor is telling you, give him the finger and walk on,
Right. So when I woke up that morning, I knew what I was doing. So I lied, saying that person was going to come get me. There was no plans for that person to come get me. The girls all leave. I immediately picked up the phone. I called my mom that morning and I said, I need Jean's truck, which was my grandparents' next door neighbor, and any car that you can get over here. I need everything out of here. And I have about 3 hours to do it.
Oh, wow. How close were they?
They were very close. So just right in around the corner.
So it wasn't like it was going to be crunch time for them to get there, get things done. Okay.
Yeah. And I had my stuff packed. In fact, I even left stuff behind that I didn't even realize was sitting out on the balcony, and I've never gotten it back. Like all my little books from when I was a kid and all kinds of stuffed animals and stuff. They're gone because I wouldn't go back again. And this was the first time I left. Then there was 2 more times that I tried to go back to just maybe just going to a church service, or maybe I was just having a bad experience in what I was doing. I was accosted at the mall by 2 of the people that by actually the person who baptized me. His wife and him accosted me at the mall and told me I was going to hell for falling away, because that's what they call it, falling away. So, it was a crazy experience. But yeah, they came, they got me out of there, and I just sent a message to Virginia that said, I'm very, very sorry that I will not be attending your wedding today. I hate that this is ruining your special day. Because I felt bad because it's not her fault. She doesn't know anything. She's just another person stuck just like me, who happened to get out, by the way.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good.
No, this is why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because I truly believe this is one of my callings. I would have never been led to or joined a church like that in my entire life. It's just not me. I believe that God took a part of my time on this earth and placed me in that path. I believe that I was there for a reason. I don't even know if all the reasons that I was there for are known to me at this time. But I know that there was a large exodus of people that left after I left. People that had direct contact with me, who heard questions that I asked all the time, and all of those things. And I had people come up to me for years afterwards and say, "Oh my God, thank you so very much. You saved my life." And, you know, so and it was hard because everything I knew at that point was just that church. I had taken away all my other friends, my family, my everything, and all I had was this church. And that's what this church does too.
Yes.
So getting back to Nexium, so the DOS thing, that was basically becoming a member of DOS was becoming a slave. And this is where my brain goes, wait a minute. Like, really? If I had heard that word at any point in time, that would have been one that I would have been like, no. No. That's things you do in a bedroom with people that you trust if you choose to.
I had to really look at that because of things I do understand and know about.
Yes.
And then I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh, they were really crossing. They really were. But there are so many out there that do abuse it.
Right.
They get into that and they use it as abuse. And that's not at all.
Right.
Yeah. But their whole slave thing just made me sick.
Well, Sarah Edmondson said that she even had an unknown master. She didn't even know who it was, that she was required to text every morning and night as part of her training program, requesting permission to eat and sleep, and immediately replied
when they could go to the bathroom.
Readiness drills that her master sent at random hours.
Oh, yeah, those readiness drills, that would have been the one thing that made me go, you can kiss my ass. I'm out.
Yeah. No.
30 seconds. Was it like 30 seconds to reply back ready?
Something like that. Yeah.
No, get out of here.
I will get to the branding. I promise you. I promise.
We're getting there. There's a whole lot. He said a lot of things, and because when I first started looking at Nexium, I'm thinking, okay, it's just another thing, kind of like Scientology. It's what is the big deal? Then I get to listening to this dude, and I'm like, hold up, he's scary.
Yes.
I mean, there's a comment that he said. And I wrote it word for word because I don't want to misquote it. I mean, this is the kind of man he was and how he viewed things. Do you understand how you can rape a baby? I can show you how it's very rapeable. And it is very compared to sticking your dick in a steak. Were his words. And why did people not hear that? There is anything else he wants to talk about. Slaves and masters and branding. And okay, you're an adult. But he is comparing that it is okay to rape a baby. That's acceptable. I'm out. Nope. I do not understand people's thought process that was okay. Even taken out of context, like I said earlier, where does that even in context make sense and okay?
No, absolutely
There's nowhere.
Right.
At all. Yeah, that was when I was like, okay, now I'm hooked. Now I'm hooked to find out what the heck all of this is about.
So, yes, there was something, Edmondson claimed that slaves within DOS were branded with Keith Reneir's initials. It was also alleged that Allison Mack's initials were on several people. And so after the Times releases their expose, Keith Reneir, he flees to Mexico. He's like, peace out, I'm out. But on March 27th, 2018, the FBI arrested Reneir and charged him with sex trafficking. So not only is it what's going on inside of here, Ty, that's a really good question. I do wonder if he has any connection to Epstein.
I was wondering that today myself because they mentioned Epstein in some of it.
Yes. Right. So here's the thing, though. Speaking on what you said, Brandy, and going from this. So, like, you would think that, okay, the New York Times did a big thing on it. Sarah Edmondson is coming out talking. Allison Mack is now telling things. All these things are coming out. Why are people digging in deeper? Why are they not running for the hills? Why are they not fleeing? Even Oxenberg's daughter, India Oxenberg, she really went in further when she heard these things instead of coming out.
Yeah,
so when
she
I was
withdrew
watching
even more.
Yes, it's very common though. So I was watching the series Cult and Extreme Beliefs. I found it on Hulu. Okay. I don't know if it's a Hulu original or if it was on something else and it's just on Hulu, but I was watching their first season, and the very first church that they cover is Nexium. And they had on there a sociologist and cult expert, Dr. Jonna Lalick. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but it's Janja and then Lalich. So I think it's Jonna Lalick. Okay, and she said that when very public figures break away from a cult, lots of people also leave, but those that stay get even further indoctrinated. And this goes along the lines of why they can hear the things that they heard and still keep going, because it speaks to, it's called cognitive dissonance. And in music, dissonance is defined as tension or a clash that comes from combining two, like disharmonious elements. Like, so it's like something that's not going to sound pleasing to your ear. Okay. So the same can be said about cults and the people in them. She, quote, said, cognitive dissonance is when reality doesn't meet your belief system. Most people will retain their thinking in the belief system rather than change your reality because that's the safer way to go. So basically they're realizing what they're hearing, they can't fathom it. So they just turn away from that and go, oh, no. Or there's got to be an explanation for that. Or I didn't hear that right. And continue on with their thinking, and even be encouraged to take part in some of these things because they've been so indoctrinated already. This just further pushes them in because they don't want to give up the life they're living. They don't want to lose all their friends. They don't want to lose their house or their cars or everything. If they're, have a spouse that's still in and that spouse doesn't want to leave. They don't want to be harassed. You see what Scientology does to people. They're horribly relentless about destroying people, hurting them, anything. There's even documents out there from Scientology about things that they are allowed to and not allowed to do to somebody who has, left the church. It's
and
crazy.
With the Nexium group, they all had to give very intimate things to them for collateral for if they left or said anything. Right. And so a lot of them are still in fear of some of that being put out.
Right. Well, and on top of that, so then they do, and Sarah Edmondson says she feels terrible. So does India and her
India
mother.
Oxenberg had a hard time with the people she brought in. She was very, but she was very happy they left. They were like, no, we're out. We're gone.
So Sarah brought in somebody and she left, and this person did not leave. This girl did not leave. And she was on this series, Cults and Extreme Beliefs. And she said that Sarah Edmondson felt very guilty because the girl didn't leave at first. She is gone now. She's left now. But it's because she got involved in something called a fright experiment, which they did on the DOS members. And basically you didn't even know you were signing up for an experiment. They just told you, we need you to come in. You're going to watch some videos. We're going to monitor you. This is some new thing that we're doing. We just want to we just want to see how certain things respond and what you're thinking. And it's just a study. We're just doing this little study. Okay. So they thought that they were helping out the church. They go in, they're hooked up to a brainwave machine. There's stuff monitoring their heart rate, monitoring their pulse, all these different things, just like if you're going to do a scientific experiment. And it's a doctor that is in the church. So that gives it legitimacy. Oh, well, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so, he sits in pew number 3 when we have, whatever, so, you've met him. He was at the church social last night with the ice cream. Remember, wasn't he a nice guy? He was a nice guy. He's going to do it. Anyway, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So they give this legitimacy that a real doctor in the church is administering it. They strap them down to this chair, and then they play not like a movie, because they tell them, oh, you're just going to watch a movie and we want to know how you react to it. There may be some crazy things that happen in this movie, but we just want to know how you react to it. Oh, okay. They don't know what the hell's going on at this point. Basically, they turn on real life videos of extreme violence towards women and snuff films. And they force these girls to watch them. And then they basically, they ask them how they feel about it afterwards to see. Now, what this does is it
It plants a seed of
normalizes
what could happen.
it normalizes this type of behavior, that this is okay, that we can accept this, that this is what happens if women don't comply, or because they should, because we're giving them this better life. That's what all these are about: a better life, a better you, a better whatever, because that's what they know is going to be your hot ticket, because everybody wants a better life, right? Everybody wants that. Even celebrities want that, because celebrities live lonely lives that you'd think that they would have all these people around. They don't.
They have to keep very guarded, so they become very lonely.
Right. So now they're saying that these women who watch this have now PTSD syndrome because because of watching this video and going through this what they called a fright experiment. So, I mean, this is a bad place. And, so after the Times thing, he gets arrested. Media outlets immediately begin to speculate on who else may have been involved and what was looking more and more like a cult every day. And so on April 20th, 2018, the FBI arrested actress Allison Mack and charged her with sex trafficking and forced labor. She pled not guilty to the charges, but the following month, Mack also did an interview with the New York Times. And in that interview, she gave details about Doss. And Mack claimed that the branding of the slaves was actually her idea, not Reneir's. She said for someone to join the slave master sorority, they had to commit to a low-calorie diet so that their bodies would be appealing to.
It was like 500 calories a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to take pictures of what they were eating and send it to prove that that's all that they were eating.
Yes. And I mean, it's just, so she comes out, and basically every single woman in this, that the high level women that come out and do this, they basically put it all back on Reneir and be like, well, I didn't know. Well, Well, you can say that at a lower level, but when you're getting up into these higher levels, you do know things. Now I can say, like, I've watched, Leah Remini's, Scientology program. And I can think about, I think his name Mark. I think his name is Mark. He was one of the high ups in there. But what's happening is the high ups are being treated in one way, but they're also being held even more accountable. So for every action that somebody underneath them does, they're held accountable too. And then there's a high level of fear in that realm, because you have all of your money tied up. You have your houses. You've worked your whole life for this church. So there's a level there, but they do know what they're doing. Many of them, they know. They absolutely, yes. Mike Render. That's it. Thank you, Christina. That was who I was thinking of. So, so she basically says that she was a big part of this. Now he takes it one step further, so they come up with this idea of branding. Well, then he comes out with a statement that they have to make before they're branded. And it's basically that I'm going to sign away my life for 100 years, blah, 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 which, where does that come from? Scientology and their, oh God, what is that? The Sea Org, Scientology and the Sea Org. They also sign 100-year life contract or whatever. And it just, who's going to live that long? And who's going to be still doing this shit at 100 years old? Nobody. Like, dude, Mima and Peepa hardly ever make it to freaking church because they can't get out of bed. They watch it from their home.
Right.
Like, who is signing a 100-year contract at 30? You're not living to 130.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky, you're at 70, 70, 80.
Right. Like,
sorry, I'm not making 130. Not
I
happening.
just had a conversation about somebody about this, and I don't talk politics on this show, but this was funny, and it kind of came into this for me today.
We avoid politics.
No, but this was funny to me. It really kind of spoke to this whole thing, like what we're saying here. Who signs a 100-year contract? Well, that's the same thing of, like, in the normal sector.
Oh, yeah.
Retirement is 65 to 70 years old. In the government sector, it's death. You're there till you freaking die. And
if you're on your deathbed, you still better show up to do your job.
And you still better freaking vote the way we asked you to.
Right.
And that's on both sides. I'm not saying anything about one side or the other. I'm just saying
that's
the way that's what this reminds me of, is like, well, once you're in. That's it. So more arrests come down the pipeline. Go ahead.
Well, I was
Ready?
just because I'm trying to see who had said it. Somebody had said, and I've just lost my about these are just the people we know of and the cults we know of.
Yes.
And
Stella.
what about the
Yes, Stella
smaller
did.
ones?
Yes.
The one I was, Fancy talked about hers. Mine was just a regular church, just simple, old-fashioned Assembly of God church. And I actually called my friend because I didn't want to tell the story without warning her because it involves her.
Sure.
And after me. But the pastor that we had, we had big names come in, and we're talking a small town, couple thousand people, small town. It has like one grocery store. At the time, we had like 2 fast food places. We had big names. We had T.D. Jakes come in. We had Jesse Duplantis come in. We did work with Creflo Dollar. We had those people that you see on TV every week that are godly men come in and do this work with our pastor, who we thought, I was mid-20s, so, and at that time it was not this character that y'all know now where I voice my opinion. I was very timid. I was very quiet. Well, I wasn't quiet. I don't think I've ever been quiet. I didn't speak my mind and my voice very well. And I was dealing with mental illness, and we all talk about our mental illness issues a lot. I do share that because I think that is very powerful in a way of helping people. And we were in a point of, we didn't realize what was happening then. Now we know he was telling people in the church who they could be friends with and who they couldn't. He had the elders' wives, and he would tell them, don't hang out with her, go hang out with her. I think it's time that if she can deal with you, then we can bring her further in.
Right.
And it was a weird little circle of people. Well, I had a mental break, and I tried to commit suicide. And my husband literally sat on the floor for hours holding me, trying to keep things okay. And we went into church. This was a Friday night, I think, or Saturday night. We went into church 1 or 2 days later, and he told him, he was like, we need to talk to you. We need help. And we go in there and we're talking. And he says to me, this isn't fair to your husband. You need to get over it. So when somebody's already dealing with depression and mental illness and a low self-esteem, it's all their fault again. So things went on. He made moves on me several times. One of the members of the church went to him and said, if you don't leave her alone, I'm going to the board. And my husband was out of town at the time working. And he run them off, like literally run them off. As I started standing up a little bit more and saying, this is not okay. Don't come at me like this. He would literally say things like, you would never be with a fat man, would you? Because he was a really big guy. And I'm like, this is very inappropriate. You're married and so am I. Gross. He then moved to my best friend and convinced her to divorce her husband, run his wife off. He was working on splitting the church from the Assembly of God to a non-denominational. And when the split happened, he had a letter done up that he claimed was from his wife, that she was leaving and having an affair and she was done. I'm sorry for what I did to the church. Well, no, I talked to her later on and he threatened her life and she ran. And my friend ended up leaving at one point. We ended up splitting off completely and had our own church for a little bit. And I'm sitting here watching these two and I'm like, something's not okay. That was when my gut started saying, time to go. And we started questioning their behavior and what they were doing and what was going on. And he would pervert the word, and I love the Bible. I love to read the Bible, but he was really bad about taking it and twisting it just a little, just a little.
What they would do in mine was they would take a piece of it, but they wouldn't take what was above it or below it. And if you didn't read what was above it or below it, it didn't freaking, it changed the meaning completely. So they would be reading something. I'd be like, wait, and then they would tell me what it meant. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I read the paragraph above and below, and that does not mean that at all. Yes, it does. You can interpret it. I'm like, no. I'm sorry, because this says this and that says that. That does not mean what you're telling me it means. So I'm sorry. No. And that's when they would tell me I was being willful. I wasn't being a good disciple. I wasn't leading a good example, that I was supposed to be, a good leading example in the church because I had such a vivacious, a personality and people like to listen to me talk and everything. I was supposed to be leading, and being set up to become a major leader and all these different things. And I was like, I don't feel any of that, guys. None of that. Right. Thank you. I'm out of here.
It took us about a year and a half, 2 years to get my friend away. They moved to Michigan. She took off. She come home a couple times. She would leave in the middle of the night. Wouldn't tell nobody. She would tell me, and but she would tell me as she was leaving out where I couldn't call her family because we were very close. They were my family. Right. And the last time when she called me, and she had actually told everybody she was leaving, and we're sitting there and she's telling me, and I just looked at her and I said, why are you doing this? Your kids are terrified. You're not okay. She's like, he won't leave me alone. I got to go back.
Right.
And she went back. And so when I was gone, when I found out she come back, and she called me, and I was so happy. And she's now married again to a very wonderful friend of ours, and she's very happy. But and he's no longer, thank God, in a church. He's a car salesman in Michigan. And he has tortured all of his children. He has sexually abused all of his children. There was a special place in hell for him. Yeah. But because of everything I went through that, and even following that, I have a very hard time. I am not an organized religion person. No, I believe in God. I believe in the Bible. I will talk religion with you all day long. But I'm sorry. I know we probably have people in here that are church people. I'm not going to church.
Right.
I'm not giving my life.
Often. I did find finally, after many years of searching, I went when I was young. I was in a youth group. I loved my youth group. I did all of that through high school. I loved that church very much. So it was the church I grew up in. We've been in other churches. None of them seemed like home. I've tried and tried and tried. Very hypocritical in very many of them.
I'm horrible. I will call them out quick.
Right. In this last thing, I finally was able to find one church here in the state, or the city that I'm in, that I resonate with, and then COVID hit.
Well, and we still
and they're so tiny. They're so tiny. They're not.
Yeah. We love the church that we were a part of. They have new pastors now, and they are amazing people. I love them. Are they perfect? No, there are things they do that I'm going, I don't agree with this, and you're being very one-sided, but they're good people, and they're not, they're true to what they're preaching. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But we went in after I was diagnosed with what mental illness I had. We called a meeting and went in there, and I said, I'm going to tell you what, if you guys tell me that I need to just get over it, you and this church can go to hell.
Right. Exactly.
And he brought the color in his face. He's a very meek, very sweet man. And David's going, you're cussing in church. and he said, Brandy, I can promise you, I'm not going to tell you to just get over it, but I will help you get through it.
Right.
And he said, but I can't do anything if I don't know what it is. And I don't know how to make you trust us, because I know you don't have any reason to trust anybody here. Right. He's like, well, it's a miracle you're even here. We didn't expect you to stay because of everything y'all went through. Right. And I can say they were amazing at helping us walk through. In the middle of the night, I could call them. I mean, they were amazing, and they are good people. But they know I'm just like, it's not for me. I don't like judgy people. I don't, those same people that are judging me because I got a glass of wine right here are sitting there gossiping about everybody else, and so they forgot to read in that Bible where it says that's worse. That I can drink. You ain't supposed to gossip.
So you're talking about the righteous on Sunday people.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, literally, I had 4 surgeries in 8 months. I couldn't go anywhere. I mean, I was, I was down. And when I did go, and she's a good friend of mine, I unfriended her for a while. I'm like, I ain't talking to you. She literally said, where have you been?
Right.
And I just looked at her, I was like, I've had surgery. 4 of them to be exact. Where were you?
I was in bed sick one day, and I had 16 phone calls from different people. People I never talked to in the church called me. Are you okay? We're concerned. I'm like, I'm sick. Like, seriously, I'm in bed. Do you want to bring me some chicken noodle soup? I'll take all the chicken noodle soup you want to bring. But I'm sorry, I'm not pulling myself out of bed, my deathbed today to talk to you about, the Lord. I can read my Bible at home. I'm perfectly capable of doing that.
My son, I almost say he's an atheist now, because that was when he was like, Mom, I've watched you be at the church every time the doors are open. You've done every food thing they've done. You cook for everybody that comes in. You make meals for people that are sick or have had surgeries or have lost somebody. And he's like, nobody brought food. Nobody made one meal for us. And he was like, and we were okay. I mean, I was frustrated because it hurt my heart, because the people that should have had my back didn't when I had theirs all for, I mean, we're not talking just a couple years. We went 16 years before we walked away from it. And so he wouldn't go back, would not, and will not to this day step foot in a church. And I've had this conversation with a lot of them. They'll invite me. I'm like, maybe sometime I'll come in to come visit, but I have no desire to do organized religion. Just don't.
I know I'll never like be a member again. I may go and see a church, go there on a Sunday.
I like the praise and worship. It makes me feel good.
Right. I do too. I love to sing the hymns. I love to go and hear the message of the word, as long as it's not some fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the
teaching. I like good teaching.
I like the newer churches that are popping up a little bit more, that are geared towards younger people.
And that's what our old church is. They're very new age, kind of refreshing, happy-go-lucky kind of thing.
Right. But if it turns dark at all, no way. Hell,
I'm out.
No. I'm out. I'm out. So anyway, more arrests came down in July 24th of 2018. Nexium co-founder Nancy Salzman, her daughter Lauren Salzman, and former Nexium bookkeeper Kathy Russell were arrested and charged with racketeering conspiracy. Along with them, Claire Bronfman, or Bronfman. I don't know.
Bronfman. It's an M-F in there. It's very weird.
Yeah.
That's the Seagram's people, isn't it?
Yes. Of the billionaire philanthropist and former Seagram Liquor chairman Edgar Bronfman was also arrested. So she was arrested. It's alleged that the four women recruited and groomed sexual partners for Reneir and used harassment, coercion, and abusive litigation. Yeah, I know, right? My husband just came home. To intimidate and attack perceived enemies and critics. Hold on, I'm going to have to pause for a second because they're going to go crazy.
Go away. I was trying to read that comment. And it was reenacted. The Amish community fascinates me, Ty. That is one that I definitely think Fancy and I will be digging into, because it is it's another one that I think started out with very good intentions. And it was perverted.
Yeah. There's a couple of colonial ones that were like that too, that started out being really good and then became crazy. And that's what kind of happens. Most of these start out with an intention of something decent. Whether the person that's starting it knows that they're going to take this path, or whether they really do believe they're doing well, and then it just goes to their freaking head. I don't know.
Nexium had a good message. In the beginning, when it was a very good, and that's how they got so many people in. But then it's like, there's nobody holding anybody accountable, so they can do whatever the hell they want to do.
Right. So in March 2019, Nancy Salzman pled guilty and admitted to court in tracking and monitoring women in Nexium if they were suspected of being moles. Keith Reneir also had child pornography charges added. Prosecutors, there goes our monetization on this video, totally out the window. No, seriously, everything that we've talked about, they'll pull their monetization.
Will they? They don't like any of that. Oh
no.
Okay, guys, since they're gonna pull the monetization, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button and boost us some. Give us a thumbs up.
And you can always give us a super chat or a super sticker. You guys are more than welcome to do that. If you want to ask a question, you can do that. We don't require it. We always talk with you guys for free, but it can always help. But anyway, yeah, they'll totally pull the monetization on this as soon as we said certain words. But anyway, they also charged him of, prosecutors alleged that Reneir documented sex with a 15-year-old girl who was his first sex slave. They also charged him with possession of child pornography from 2005 and 2018. And 2 weeks after her mom, Nancy, took a plea bargain, Lauren Salzman also pled guilty and admitted that she was a member of DOS and that she knowingly and intentionally enslaved a woman for 2 years from 2010 to 2012. Here's what she had to say about that.
Wasn't there a 12-year-old involved in some of this too?
Maybe.
Didn't I read that there was a 12-year-old?
Maybe. I mean, I can't find everything all the time.
It might have been in the documentary I watched on Stars today. I may watch it again because it was really good. It was really good.
I don't have that one. Okay. Yes, Ty, we're going to be looking into a lot of those. So, okay. So then it goes on. This is what she had to say about her enslaving a woman knowingly and intentionally for 2 years. In court, she said, "I'm very sorry for my poor decision making and decisions that result in the harm to others, and not just the victims in this case, but to hundreds of members of our community and their friends and families as well." I'm sorry. That doesn't sound like she's sorry at all. That sounds like, I'm sorry, I got caught.
That sounds like a publicist wrote that.
Yes. Exactly.
A publicist wrote that. Money bought that speech.
It was bad sushi. It was bad sushi. I'm not, yeah. It was gas station sushi. I'm not sick. It's gas station sushi, right? Yeah, exactly. It sounds exactly.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it because if that was the case, she would have come out and said that way before any of this happened. It wouldn't have been part of her last bit.
Right.
No.
And so then on April 8th, Allison Mack gets, she pleads guilty as well to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and 1 count of racketeering. She admitted that as a member of DOS, she blackmailed other women with collateral to make them cooperate. Later that month, Claire Bronfman pled guilty to her charges, admitting to bankrolling Nexium, enslaving an undocumented woman, and helping Keith Reneir to use a dead.
Holy crap! I didn't hear that part.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dead woman's credit card too, and enslaving an undocumented woman. There's the other chicks that are involved in this too. They're high up. They were bankrollers too, like the Seagram's girls.
Nancy, the co-founder.
No, it's not Salzman. It's the other girls.
No, Bronfman. They were.
No, who else was it? There was someone else. Hold on, let me look in my documents here of what I pulled up to talk about. But yeah, I mean, this is crazy that they were able to. It was sisters. That's who I'm looking for. Is the 2 sisters?
I think that was the Bronfmans, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't think it was. Why do I think it wasn't? I don't know. But I mean, they used all kinds of different things. Like they used everything in the book. I don't know. I've never seen anything this detrimental that survived and nobody killed themselves. Like, right.
That I'm kind of shocked on because, well, I mean, there is one girl that, and it was a few years back, did commit suicide. And she just left a note that don't even bother looking for my body. And she was out in the bay. But it wasn't at the end, which you would expect because most of them end badly.
Yeah. Most of them end badly. Well, how many times do we say that in different cases? Like the Munchausen by proxy cases, these cases, the moms that kill cases, family annihilators. It always ends, badly. So on May 7th, 2019, Reneir's federal trial began. And according to court documents, multiple people testified that Reneir had a den in Salzman's house in upstate New York where he had sex with some of his slaves in a room with an elevated bed that had a hot tub underneath it. Then prosecution witness included Lauren Salzman, filmmaker Mark Vicente, victims Sylvia, Daniela, and Nicole, and cult educator Rick Allen Ross. Now, if you have not looked at some of the stuff that Rick Allen Ross does, man, he's very, very, very great. He's who talked to the church that my mom went to get help to get me out.
Oh, yeah, that's the guy that does the deprogramming, right?
Yes, they talked.
Yes, he is so good.
They talked to him about helping me. So yes, he is amazing. That the whole thing that he does, all of that he does is deprogramming. He's incredible. So on June 19th, 2019, after only 5 hours of deliberation.
Well, that didn't take long.
Yeah. You think he's guilty? Yeah, I think he's guilty. That guy's a sick son of a bitch.
Do we need to talk anymore? Now let's have lunch and make them think we're doing this.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to at least get lunch out of this. Can we at least get lunch out of this? So, can we get, I'd like to get some more, Murphy's brought up, whatever.
Right.
So the jury found Reneir guilty on all charges. He was convicted for sexual exploitation of a child and possession of child pornography with regard to the minor victim, Camila, sex trafficking of Nicole, attempted sex trafficking of Jay, and these are names that are in quotes, so I'm assuming these are probably protected names.
They took a lot of names out, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Identity theft against Edgar Bronfman, James Loperfido, Ashina Chinawa, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, and Mariana and Pam Kraftitz, trafficking for labor and services of Danielle, forced labor of Nicole, conspiracy to alter records for use in an official proceeding, and sex trafficking conspiracy, forced labor conspiracy, racketeering conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy. Basically, they got him for everything that says, hey, he's a really bad dude.
They threw everything they could out there to make sure they got enough time.
He went down for more than freaking Al Capone, So in 2019, Investigation Discovery aired a documentary titled The Lost Women of Nexium. The untimely deaths of Reneir's alleged lovers caused speculation that Reneir had possibly murdered them. There was also a 2009 video where Reneir said, I've had people killed because of my beliefs.
Okay, wait. Repeat that?
There was also a 2009 video where Reneir said, I've had people killed because of my beliefs. And if you believe that some of his lovers committed suicide or did he murder them? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I don't put it past this guy. This guy is freaking cuckoo cachoo.
Well, and
he's really
I laughed about how they caught him because they knew he was in Mexico. They called the Mexican federal police or whatever it is and hired them. Basically, look, we're going to pay you to go get this guy because his girls, he calls them because he needs to meet with his first line of DOS group.
Right.
And they come, the girl takes the picture of herself with the monument and like, oh, we know where they're at. This is where they're at. Go get him. And they're like, and the girls are still defending him the whole time. No, he's not here. He's not here. He's not here. And they put a gun to her head. She's like, he's up there.
He's up there. He's there.
He's up there. And he's hiding in a closet. Hiding in a closet. Chicken shit. I thought that was funny that he hid in a closet, but
That's interesting. I've heard some more lies about hiding in closets, but there was also, so in January 2020, a federal lawsuit was filed in New York City, or New York, against Reneir and 14 of his associates, accusing them of conducting illegal psychological experiments on members of the company and abusing them physically, emotionally, and financially. While incarcerated, Reneir has maintained his leadership position in Nexium and still speaks with his followers by phone.
There's a video that the followers were out and on the street, were like below the window of his jail cell, dancing for him.
Wow. Christina says a few died of cancer, but it's speculated that he was slowly poisoning them. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
At one point, he gave false names of the people he was allegedly calling to prison officials, and his followers were using burner phones to avoid being identified. Like, if you got to do all this shit, like, don't you think that maybe something might be wrong? I don't know. I mean, the guy is not God.
First clue, if you have to have a burner phone so that they can't be traced, probably not legit. Just saying.
We'll come back.
Criminals use burner phones.
We'll come back to that little tip in a moment. He even instructed a follower to get scrutiny on the judge in his case, saying that the judge needs to know he's being watched. On September 30th, 2020, Judge Nicholas G. Garifas sentenced Claire Bronfman to 6 years and 9 months in federal prison. On October 27th, 2020, the same judge sentenced Keith Reneir to 120 years in prison.
He's not getting out.
$1.75 million. The bookkeeper pled guilty to visa fraud. Russell, 120 years. 120 years.
Yeah, times 120.
Yeah. Russell, Allison Mack, Lauren Salzman, and Nancy Salzman are all awaiting sentencing, which has been held up partly due to the court closures during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The one I read today was like 20 and 40 years on each of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still going through. I'm sure a lot of them will get deals because of their testimony against him in the court. I'm sure they get their own little deals of, oh, we're only going to do 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. But still, I mean, some of these people are celebrities. They ruined their lives, totally ruined their lives. Like, for what?
Well, and the doctors all those doctors, I think there were 4 or 5 doctors had their licenses revoked, plus getting sentencing. You know, I think they're like 20 years, 15, 20 years. Yeah. They ruined their career for this. For what? Oh, yeah. To brand girls and so he can have sex with them because he was the only one having sex with them.
That's what they all do.
All of them.
They stop sex everywhere else and they can only have sex with that leader and that's it. Then the leader has 9,000 kids and
that was the thing with David Koresh with Waco. And I have, I've made a lot of friends of the Waco community and the survivors. And I love them all. They're very dear people. And I feel for them what they went through. Sadly, they still support, most of them still support him a lot in his message and what he did. But he took other men's wives and said, you're not allowed to be with your wife no more. She's my wife.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the sex with the children, I mean, there's in Texas at that time, all of the children that he had reportedly had sex with, because there's no proof other than word, were of legal age of consent. Was that okay? Absolutely not. No. I mean, we all can sit here and say 14, 15, 16 years old is not okay for a grown man to have sex with.
We also know people who marry 12-year-old brides. So,
right.
I mean,
and it's morally, it's not okay. Legally at the time it was, that changed after that. I think right around the time of Warren Jeffs, Texas went in and changed their laws because Warren Jeffs was doing the same thing. But anytime, it makes no sense to me why it's okay for someone to say, she's no longer your wife, she's my wife. And I'm the only one having sex here. The rest of you cannot.
Can you imagine if someone said that to your husband? My husband would lose his...
absolutely. It would be own. It would be ugly. 911, please can you come? My husband's killing this man because he said he couldn't have sex with me anymore.
He's killing them all. He's killing the men. Oh, yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
I mean, it just...
Jeff's later too, guys. So not tonight, but we will be talking about them later.
Yeah, Waco. We're going to go deeper in. The anniversary is coming up at the end of the month, and I have a lot of them ready to talk. And so I'm looking forward to getting stories. And the children who survived have amazing stories that are very heartfelt, and it kind of gives you a different perspective of what went on through all of that. But yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and start this series. This is the beginning of this series. It's called What Just Happened? Did I join a cult? That's really what I'm calling it. Did I just join a cult? That's this new series. And I want it to be, yes, we're going to talk about these different ones. Yes, we're going to look at them and tell you the bad things and different that. But on top of that, I want it to be an awareness for people to come to and understand that there are people out there that have been through this that are just like them, normal people that, they're not stupid and they're not horrible people for getting sucked up into something like this until they start getting up into those high levels and start doing stuff.
A lot of people look at cults and they think of Manson, and so they think of runaways and drug heads that are getting hooked up, and that's not the case. Manson was a very odd one on, that's not normally what happens.
I think that people don't realize it happens as much as it does.
Right.
And like we said, there's lots of little cults and little places, even like Brandy's experience with just a regular church that decided to take just a little more, So I want this to be a place that people can come and share their stories. If you would like to share them in the comment sections on these, and we'd love to talk with you. We can also share them through email. And if you share them through email and you ask us to keep your name confidential, we absolutely will. Yep. But I would like to hear from other people about experiences that they have had or that they know people have had. through these, and we're going to look at a lot of different ones, you know, and some of them, some people may not like the fact that it's considered a cult. Now, there are cults that are not bad cults. I mean, it's a cult. It's still kind of very cult-like, but it's not necessarily an extremist cult or a detrimental cult. Some of them can still fall under the cult-like tendencies, but are good and positive things.
Right.
You know, so there are certain ones that are good and positive, but I want to look at all of those. I want to talk about a lot of those. But earlier, just a little bit ago, Brandy offered a quick tip. And so a little series that we're starting on our Instagram stories is, you know, we're all the good wives, but we're also good moms. So, you know, and we want to make sure that we keep our children, our children's friends, and any young girls, young people, period, from getting murdered or falling into a cult or being kidnapped. And so we have started a quick little thing on our Instagram stories, and it's the Good Mom's Guide to Not Being Murdered. And basically, it's one tip from each one of us as we do them a couple times throughout the week. You can catch them on our Instagram stories, and every once in a while, we may do a whole bigger thing on one of the tips that we give you. But they're little tips from each one of us on the team, so you'll get to know some of the other team members in what they tell you. Some of them are funny, some of them are serious.
Some of them may be a little bit more of a
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really? Like, yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right, but we just thought it'd be cool. If you like them, please, you know, hit like buttons and share and all that good stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of new stuff over on Instagram, so I definitely want to encourage you guys to follow us over there at True Crime Wives with a V and an S. And we're going to be doing a lot of new stuff. In fact, I think that's where Brandy is going to do her This Week in True Crime is going to be over there live on Instagram, is what
Wherever
I think
you want it.
about,
Yep, I can do that.
possibly. Yep. And maybe the bonehead criminal of the week will be over there too. So
yeah.
But we'll have a lot more stuff over on Instagram. It's going to be a lot more fun. We're trying to get into it more. You know, it's just something that it took us a long time to build where we were, and so now we're trying to build in other areas. So if you guys will go over and like, subscribe, share, whatever the heck it is that you do, we're going to be starting TikToks, guys. So you're going to want to go find us over there at TikToks. There's already one funny one that I did where
I'm tired. I'm just saying.
It was really funny. I did a TikTok where I was like, I sit in bed and I watch true crime documentaries to fall asleep. And I'm always thinking to myself, and I had like a one of those white or magic erasers, and then I put a really popular song to it, basically telling them to wipe down the fingerprints. Like, that was the one I did. So we're gonna have some fun stuff over there too. We're gonna have, you know, true crime in 60 seconds. We're gonna have serial killer quotes. So we're trying to go into a lot of different things that are quick and easy for you guys to get some information. Of course, you're always going to want to show up here on Mondays and Friday nights, guys. But we've got some more things coming down the pipe. Oh, and Thursdays, whichever way we're going to do this.
Stella's is Tuesdays.
Stella's is Tuesdays, and then Thursdays is Psych Talk. So every day of the week, you know, we're just doing it. That's what we do.
If you have a case in true crime history, has to be not current. We want history. Send it to us at the email or the Facebook group or however you want to even on here, you message us, leave a comment, whatever.
We're not talking about Auschwitz, though. Okay, we're not talking about like that. Like, but true crime, like
true crime. I want murder, like somebody slaughtered somebody. Yeah,
I want kidnappings and crazy goings on.
Weird murder cases that keep happening in weird places. Yeah,
you can. Some weird woo-woo stuff, we'll be okay with that too. But
whatever happened with our woo-woo dude? You remember woo-woo? Whatever happened to him? Do we know?
This spree killer.
Yeah, that had woo-woo.
God, I'll have to go look.
I was thinking about him the other day, and I didn't get a chance to go look him up. By the way, there's a guy that went on a spree killing about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, and he had woo-woo written, tattooed on his back. So, I mean, that made us laugh.
I don't know, Stella. I mean, I don't know if Dracula would be considered a serial killer. He'd definitely be considered a hunter of prey.
Now,
so
see, I would love to talk Dracula, but that's,
that's not true crime.
I'm a vampire fan. So we could. Let's do some fun Halloween stories. That would be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We'll do some cool stuff on Halloween. And, we're working on all kinds of cool stuff. Next week, we will have a special Valentine's Day kind of thing. So I did one last year that was a massacre that happened or not a massacre, but it was a killing that took place of the wife on Valentine's Day. And the guy tried to use Valentine's Day as a way to prove that he wasn't killing his wife. Like,
okay.
He bought flowers and all these things. Like, well, I bought flowers and and I came home. Yeah, okay, whatever, dude, whatever. My bloody Valentine. So we've got a lot of good stuff on the pipeline, guys. If there's ever something that you think, hey, you know what, I'd love to see the ladies do, send it to us. Let us know. Tell us what you want to see, because that's what we're looking for right now. We want to know what's going to get you here and listen to what we have to say, and we want to hear from you as to what is interesting to you. I can ramble on for hours about anything, but I want to know.
And it don't take Fancy Night long to come up with something to talk about. So send us a name and we'll have it.
We'll have it in a minute, and we'll have opinions. We will have opinions.
Some strong opinions.
You're never going to be without opinions here at Murder by Design, nor at the Good Wives Guide to True Crime. So, we're going to have some really cool stuff going on, guys. But I thank you for coming in and tuning in with us on this Friday night. And have a good one, guys, from the Good Wives, serving up true crime one dish at a time. Bye.
Bye, guys.